Today's episode of Random Chatter, HBO Max is a mess. And we've also got cancellation news, sequel news, and casting news. This is Random Chatter.
So HBO Max, as you mentioned, is kind of a mess. I mean, I think we're going to differ a little bit in our opinions of what's happening.
It's a mess, Lou. It is a mess. It is like my apartment looked the last time I was single. Like it is stuff strewn everywhere with no concept of order or arrangement or logic at all. It is a mess. Okay. Do you want me to start the rant or should I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you want me to go?
Well, go ahead.
Okay, all right.
Let's dive right into this because this is a juicy topic.
Okay, let me take a breath. Let me grab a quick sip.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So,
everybody else listening, get comfortable.
Pull up a chair because we got a lot of stuff to go over. HBO Max
Uncle
launched.
Eric's going to talk to us about HBO Max.
It launched this week. $14.99 a month. If you got it before it launched, you got it for $11.99, which is awesome. I got it like the day before, so that's good. There were a lot of great movies announced at launch. Things like, and you might have seen some of them in the trailers actually for the launch. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, Hobbit: Desolation of Smaug, The Matrix, etc. And they actually released, for those who wanted to know what you were getting, they released a whole list of all of these movies available at launch. Many of which were not available at launch, including Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Hobbit: Desolation of Smaug, The Matrix, etc. So,
yeah,
there's that. Yes.
So why they didn't have the movies they said they're going to have? Why they didn't have that? That's to me unbelievable that you couldn't make that happen. Don't announce them if you're not going to have them.
That's the thing. Like if it's tied up in a contract with Netflix or something, because like right now Netflix has The Matrix, so maybe like Disney Plus had to do this with some of the Marvel stuff. Okay, we get it. We're used to that by now. Don't tell me that I'm getting it and then not. Also,
yeah, that just makes you a bad taste in your mouth, right?
And then there's also the fact that like. We didn't even, like I signed up for it and I'm like, okay, do I need to download the app? Do I need to do like, what's going to happen when the clock ticks 3 a.m. Eastern on the 27th? Do I need to do something? So they rolled it into HBO now and that's okay. I think that is not necessarily a misstep. That was just a missed opportunity to communicate. Right.
Yeah. Cause I mean, I was unsure too. So
we talked about that last week.
HBO as part of my, what's that? Yeah, we did. No, I had HBO as part of my Comcast subscription, right? So I have, Comcast, my cable provider, and my internet provider. And as part of my package for, $18 bazillion a month, I have HBO. And it's like, okay, now the pre-order thing here is like you said, $11, whatever it was. I'm like, so I can get HBO Max, which will be everything the HBO has plus more for the same price. I'm like, or cheaper now for the first year because I can get the bonus thing. I'm like, that's no brainer. So I'll drop the $15 a month charge off my Comcast bill and sign up for HBO Max as itself.
Yeah.
But you're right. I didn't have any expectation of, is there going to be a new app? Do I have to download something different? Because I had that was the other thing confused to do it. So HBO Go was the app you'd use if you were a subscriber through your cable company and you wanted to stream HBO stuff to your phone. Right. But now I'm changing over to getting away from this cable subscription, having it via HBO Max. I had to download HBO Now, which was the app before the changeover, which miraculously became HBO Max the day after.
I have a question. In your HBO subscription that you had with your cable provider, would that include HBO Max? Do you know whether or not that's the case?
I don't believe it would have because... if you looked at the pre-order stuff they had for it, you could sign up a day early.
You wouldn't get the pre-order discount. I know that.
Right, but they offered that. They said so if you were an HBO Max, if you were a subscriber through your cable company and they had 8 or 9 different cable companies listed, Xfinity or Comcast was not part of that list. So there's a feud going on between, NBC Universal, who owns Comcast, or vice versa, whatever, and HBO and Warner. Time Warner owns HBO.
Yep.
Right. So they weren't part of the deal. But if you were an HET Uber subscriber or DirecTV or a few other ones, you're going to get HBO Max for free.
Which is odd because, Time Warner owns AT&T and DirecTV as well.
So that's
okay.
what AT&T Uverse.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're all given to you for free as
part
part
of
that one.
Comcast? NBC, right?
Okay. Yeah. I don't know who owns who, but yeah, NBC and
they're
Comcast
owned by one another. They're cohabitating.
Right.
Common law marriage.
Yeah. So in my thought process, like, well, I'll cancel HBO and just get the Max app. I can't stream it through there's no app for it on Xfinity, which is kind of frustrating. Some providers do offer you an app for it. Xfinity does not, but I can stream it to my Apple TV, or I can get Google and do that, I guess. So I can have it on my television.
Here's my solution. I've got an older generation Apple TV, which does HD but not 4K, and all of these other streaming services have started doing 4K. So back when they were on sale around Christmas time, I got an Amazon TV Fire Stick. It was like $25, and it was the 4K version.
Nice.
They retail for $50. It was half off, and I love it. The interface is simple. You got this little remote. I've stopped using my Apple TV. I've pretty much stopped using my cable box, and I use this for everything. For the once Apple came out for their own app for Apple TV Plus for the Fire Stick, now I can access all of my iTunes content.
Right.
There's nothing I can't access through this. I've got all of it. Perfect. Including, I've had HBO now, no problem. Until HBO Max comes out.
I got HBO Max on your Fire Stick, right? What do you mean no?
Because Amazon wants to offer it through their quote channels section, where basically you can subscribe to it through them. And HBO is like, wait, what? No, that's not a thing. What are you talking about?
Yep.
And Amazon's like, yep, it's a thing, or you can't come play with us. And HBO's like, we don't give a crap. Yeah, no, you do you. We're good. So now I have to go back to my Apple TV, which is not in 4K, in order to watch HBO Max. And people on a Roku box have to do it too. So 2 of the 3 number 1 set-top boxes. In fact, I would argue that Apple might be in 3rd place right now. I'm not sure. I've got to look at the market penetration at the moment.
Don't know, yeah.
But 2 of the top 3 don't have it. That's a big deal. So now I've got to go back to my non-4K box. So that's another misstep. But I don't want to watch this stuff in non-4K. When they do eventually maybe or maybe not get the Matrix someday, because, they own it and it was advertised and I want my Matrix, I want it in 4K and ideally in HDR with Dolby Atmos surround sound, like you can get from some streaming services that have been around for a while. Except,
well, these guys are new. They're still learning.
Oh, yeah, and they have no previous examples to follow suit from.
Well, you want to be the leader. You don't want to follow someone. You want to do your own thing. Make your own way, right?
Okay. Maybe their own way could include 4K, which it doesn't. Or HDR, which it doesn't. Or anything beyond last decade's Dolby Digital 5.1, which it doesn't. And I don't even have surround sound system here, so that part doesn't affect me. But really, you're going to be the last one to the game to launch a streaming service, and it's not going to have 4K?
But remember, they're coming from, kind of like CBS All Access, they're coming from a old world mentality, right?
Does CBS All Access not have 4K?
Compared to CBS All
Right.
Access.
When that's your go-to, Lou, We're as good as CBS All Access, Lou.
Right. I was kind of being facetious there. I
right.
wasn't saying that was the reason, but I'm saying, they come from that old world where they're like, well, this is what we're doing.
No, they're HBO. They're like cutting edge. They did Game of Thrones, and they did like...
And they were the first premium, content provider for, cable,
yeah.
right? I mean, they were the first pay network, I think it was, right, for pay TV. But yeah, they're just not quite with it yet.
It's 2020, and you're the last one up to bat.
See, but now and I want to hear Lizzie's comments in a second here, but I can say one thing. I kind of give these guys a pass a little bit on this because to me, the streaming services out there that are kind of the ones that are kind of the leaders in streaming are Amazon and Prime, right? Those are the two that they didn't start from a background.
Well, that's one. Amazon Prime is...
That's the same one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Netflix and Prime. I'm sorry. Prime. That's what I meant to say.
Well, and some people argue Hulu. I know you don't have Hulu.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can throw them in there too. But so those two or three companies, they're all call them new media. They grew up with this. They started this revolution, right? Everybody else, CBS All Access or the HBO thing or any other network company streaming services out there isn't as fully fleshed out as Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, because they're doing their own little thing and trying to make it into a streaming service. Like, well, those guys didn't do their own little thing. They had a bunch of content they have, and now they're expanding.
Okay. So like Disney Plus, they've
HBO
kind of small and they're expanding. They started out with just a few shows that were in 4K. Sure. And then they expanded. Two other shows that are in 4K.
I don't have a 4K TV, so
just saying. But HBO Max is doing the same thing.
But to me,
they've got to look at the content for a moment. They're doing the same thing. They've got all of these exclusive shows that they're bringing. They're exclusives like Love Life and the Elmo talk show, and okay, so there are two.
But now, but wait, but they're also doing all their stuff that they put on HBO, all their series that they have on HBO, like Westworld or anything else you want to.
No, but I'm talking like
is all there as well.
Okay, but like Disney Plus is constantly like they've got exclusive shows, and Netflix has exclusive shows. And HBO has an exclusive back catalog, much like CBS All Access. See, now we're back to that comparison again.
Right, but
I'm liking where you went with that.
Of their back catalog, though. I mean,
What's
or
that?
made available their back catalog via other.
But
and they have an extensive back catalog
for their HBO channel is going to be on HBO Max as well. So Westworld, then season 4 comes out. That's going to be exclusive to HBO, whether it's Max or
2 years from now.
Wait, what?
2 years from now when season 4 comes out. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, Sex and the City is exclusive to HBO. You're right. And if this were the 90s, well, I still wouldn't care, but I might pretend that I cared. The fact that it's exclusive when it's like done and gone for like a long time now is still not really that compelling. But you know what? It is.
But it's not exclusive. They've had it in syndication on TBS forever.
Well, there's that too.
They've put it in other places. So like, if they had been like, no one can watch an HBO show, and now they had their platform, and now you can watch, 6 Feet Under, I think. Right? 6 Feet Under, Sopranos, Sex and the City, Game of Thrones. And you can now all of a sudden watch all of these HBO shows that you haven't seen in so long. Then maybe this would have hit a little differently. But obviously being late to the game didn't give them that edge, and not saving their properties also didn't give them that edge. So to not have it like clinched to come so late to the game.
Now, see,
all right, but like, what's the draw
Lizzie,
here?
You're kind of starting to sound like a broken record, because when we talked about this in 2019, you were complaining about HBO Max being late to the game and what's wrong with them and why can't they get their crap together. And now you're just being correct now too on the stuff that you were correct about back then too, almost like as if you predicted the future accurately. So, I mean, that's kind of cheating when you predict the future and you're right.
Said in the past better than I do.
So, you know,
I don't remember things I say in the past.
Oh, I vividly remember that. Thanks. Because if you remember, I was supporting HBO Max in that argument. I retract everything I said. Lizzie, you were right. You were right.
But I still look at it this way too. Though. It's not like I'm buying a new streaming service. Like I don't subscribe to Hulu.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I have Netflix and I have Amazon Prime or Amazon Video because it's part of my Prime account. But HBO to me was like, okay, well, I pay for it on cable because I'm still a cable guy. And, they have good stuff I like to watch. I like to watch all their series. They have movies that, okay, certainly here and there I can see a movie. Mm-hmm. They have, on-demand stuff on Comcast, right, for movies. It's kind of like streaming, but you watch it whenever you want to. HBO Max is just a new version of that same thing with a little bit more content. So I'm paying the same price for what I had before, getting more content for it, and they're coming out with new stuff. So what's not to like about that?
So first of all, I want to be clear. I have subscribed. I will continue to subscribe.
I have not.
Okay. They have good content.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They just need to get their act together because it's a mess. But there's good content there, and I'm not saying that it's not worth it. I'm saying, holy crap, did they drop the ball? Now, the thing about the new stuff, though, there's 2 new things, Lou, and one of them is 3 episodes of Elmo.
I see what you're saying, right.
How dare you impugn the honor of Elmo?
No. Actually, the Elmo thing looks really good. It really does.
I love that they had acquired Sesame Street. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. So let's go over the content. Okay. So it's not just HBO. We've got DC. We've got, like we just had the Sesame Workshop. I pulled up the website here on my computer. We've got Turner Classic Movies, Studio Ghibli. This is something a lot of people were looking forward to. Looney Tunes, Crunchyroll, Adult Swim, Cartoon Network. So let's go into Crunchyroll here. They have, well, I don't know anime that well, so all of the people complaining about how weak that section is, I can't attest. Are you an anime
Either Lizzie's going to testify or she's raising her hand?
No, I was going to say the fact that they have Turner Classic Movies makes me want to get them alone.
Okay.
I wish Turner Classic Movies had its own streaming service that I could just watch all the classics on. Like, I would sign up for that in 5 seconds flat, because like old black and white movies are my bread and butter over here. Mm-hmm. Cary Grant movies are like what I was raised on, and so like if I've been saying since streaming service started, if there was a Turner Classic Movie streaming service, that would be my streaming service.
And I think a lot. So for those of you out there who don't know what TCM has, just looking at the banner across the top here, the little what's it called, the carousel. Casablanca, Gone with the Wind, Ben-Hur, Singing in the Rain, Rebel Without a Cause, North by Northwest, Once Upon a Time in the West. They've got, I think they've got some Charlie Chaplin movies in there. They've got A Star is Born with, who's that, Barbra Streisand, and it looks like Chris Christopherson or something.
Yep.
Little Shop of Horrors from the 80s with Rick Moranis. They've got The Wizard of Oz, Hard Day's Night, Xanadu. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Lou, that was like when you were in college, right?
No.
I thought I was not even making a joke. You weren't in college when Xanadu came out? Wasn't that like...
What year did Xanadu come out?
Lou, do I look like I have any clue?
Do you have IMDb in front of you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
That's solid late 70s, early 80s.
Piranha, The Great Dictator, Charlie Chaplin. So some of there's a whole section on Charlie Chaplin here. So that's really cool.
Xanadu was 1980.
Right. When were you in college?
I was exactly correct.
I was still in high school, and I wasn't even in high school.
You go from high school to college. It's close. Okay. I got the right decade at least, right?
Junior high. 1980.
I was born in 82.
Yeah. How you like them
12.
apples, Lou? Okay.
Yeah, Lizzie, you can just keep drinking your wine.
Okay, let's go to Adult Swim here. So I'm going to go through the entire Adult Swim A to Z. This is going to take a long time. Okay, we've got Aqua Teen Hunger Force, The Boondocks, Gendy Tartakovsky's Primal, Home Movies, Metalocalypse, Rick and Morty, Robot Chicken, Samurai Jack, Space Ghost Coast to Coast. That's it. That's the entire Adult Swim lineup. Cartoon Network is pretty similar. A lot of these collections, they've got the entire Studio Ghibli collection, except Grave of the Fireflies.
Who's Studio
Why?
Ghibli? We
don't know. Studio Ghibli, it's a very stylized animation production company. Okay. Allegedly very good stuff. There is a rabid fan following behind the studio. I've not seen any of the stuff, but I've had so many people recommend it to me that it's on my list now. They're a thing, Lou. Like they're legit.
Yeah, that's fine.
But one of their things just randomly didn't make it. It's got the Lord of the Rings series and the Hobbit series, except the middle Hobbit movie. Why? We don't know, because somebody rolled the dice and it came up 5. So let's see. Lord of the Rings 1, 2, 3, Hobbit. That'll be 4 and 6. We'll take out the middle one. There we go. It's got DC. There's a whole section for DC stuff. So it's got like all of the DC Warner Brothers movies, right? Mm-hmm. Except, well, I already mentioned the whole Christopher Nolan trilogy, the whole Tim Burton Batman trilogy, Man of Steel, which I know Lizzie is glad that they don't have that, but you know, they don't have Man of Steel. But they've got they've got Arrowverse, so that helps. They've got Batwoman, and
I said they don't have the Arrowverse.
Well, Batwoman is Arrowverse, and that counts.
You can't just say Batwoman and say that they have the Arrowverse.
Batwoman. That's what they're doing, Lizzie. It's not me, it's them. I'm speaking on their behalf right now. We have the Arrowverse because we have Batwoman.
Batwoman anymore, and you don't have the rest of the Arrowverse. That doesn't count.
So what about the live action non-Arrowverse shows, right? They've got Doom Patrol.
Don't care.
No Titans. I guess Titans, you have to subscribe to the other Warner Brothers streaming service.
Couldn't care less.
Oh, Titans is at least as good as Doom Patrol. I know you're the Marvel snob. I know, but we're trying to help people here.
Excuse me, I just went on an Arrowverse.
Doom Patrol is good. Titans is good.
Excuse you. I just went on an Arrowverse rant, sir.
I know. It was enjoyable. Even though I pretended to take the other side, I did enjoy it. So all of these collections that are just missing pieces. I don't remember which TV show it was because it wasn't recognizable to me, but as I'm browsing random stuff, they had a TV show in there. They only had 2 episodes from it. Why?
Yeah, that's a little weird.
I don't know, because all the other episodes are there.
But, they will work this stuff out, and they will get the rest of the rights back to some things. I'm sure it was a question of things weren't, falling into place.
None of the other streaming services had these kind of problems.
There were some issues like that with Disney Plus.
Had issues when
they had stuff they couldn't show because it was under contract somewhere else.
But they didn't announce that they have it, and they didn't include it in their trailer.
They had issues of people because of the overflow of people.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about network infrastructure issues. Those are fair. Those are I'm not going to diss anybody for that. You can't. There's only so much prevention you can do for that. But this is mismanagement. And they're the most expensive streaming service. $15 a month. Netflix is $13. Disney is $7. Hulu's $7 or $8. Apple TV is $5.
Right.
These guys are $15. And there's no 4K. There's no surround sound beyond 5.1. There's no HDR. There's a crap load of stuff that they even included in their own freaking trailers that they don't own yet. What's going on?
Yeah, but to me, I'm going to say, I'm not defending it. I subscribe to the service because to me it was cheaper than buying it through.
Yeah, no, you're right.
A cable company and getting less.
And
content.
you get the entire HBO It's like you have the HBO subscription. It's worth it.
Right. It's everything HBO. If it was just a streaming service without the HBO subscription, I'd have been like, nope, I'll pass. But as soon as I found out it was everything HBO had plus the extra stuff, I'm like, it's a no-brainer. I'm already paying for it anyways. I'll drop that and take it for less money for the first year.
If anybody out there is asking
more stuff,
I am recommending this. I actually was on the fence before. I am recommending it. I'm just rolling my eyes at this launch is just a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. You will never convince me that this launch is not a mess. And I don't mean network issues. I mean, like, who thought that this was okay? But yeah, I'd recommend it.
Yeah, no, they should have had better planning and better, distribution, I should say, or better communication to everybody what you're going to get. But at the same time, they have, all the movies that have been shown on HBO are now available for streaming.
Yeah.
When we talk about DC, they have Wonder Woman, they have Justice League, they have, even stuff that's not that great, like Jonah Hex and Steel.
Even if you want to watch
Aquaman's there.
Even if you want to watch what they're calling they're not calling what the rest of us are calling the new 52 DC animated movies. Their animation stuff is really good. They don't even have all of those. Like they've got most of the recent ones, but then there's like a whole gap that it's like, just where are they?
Well, I think they're operating on an older mentality, like you guys were saying. And just because you were an innovator at the get-go of cable doesn't mean you're an innovator in streaming. You have to really set up the bones of being able to adapt to what's happening across the board. And if you're still operating in a mentality, I mean, even that affects the way that you shoot your shows, because if I'm binging a show, to this day, I cannot binge watch Lost, because the way that I took it in real time at the time it was written to be taken in with a 3-month break in between water cooler discussions, the building up of, chats online, all of that. It's
too dense.
For me, all of that contributed to the success of Lost. Right. And for me to go back and try to binge it, it has not worked. And I tried a couple times and I'm like, it's just not written for that. It's not even just the bones of the show was not written to be consumed on a binge watching mentality. So when you're even just writing new content and knowing that you're either going to release it all at once like Netflix, or release it episode by episode like Disney Plus or other platforms, then you have to know which way you're going to go on that. Do they know which way they're going to go on that? Are they going to be weekly? Are they going to be all consuming? I think those are things that I don't think that every platform like CBS maybe didn't think about that. I don't know.
Well,
but I think that those are things that you have to think about as an older network mentality, where you're like, well, what is the Nielsen rating and what is the there's just different factors than when you're streaming. And so unless you have a council of people who's like, we understand streaming and we've been watching streaming stuff for 10 years, I think it's just a completely different world.
I agree.
And it doesn't mean that HBO couldn't have really been successful in this arena. It feels like they weren't.
I agree with what you're saying right up until I think that... Sorry, I just wanted to make sure a technical setting was correct there. I agree with what you're saying, but I still don't think that excuses it, because, again, they're last to the game. They're freaking Warner Brothers. Like, they've already released a successful streaming service, is successful on a lower scale with DC Universe. They are already ingrained in multimedia distribution. They nailed digital comic book distribution better and faster than Marvel did with theirs.
Different animal.
Not trying to get into the DC versus Marvel thing, but I mean, it's Time Warner.
No, I think comic books are a different animal.
Well, they are, but what I'm saying is there are so many different arenas with digital distribution that, with the way they've handled CNN distribution on the TV, the website, the smartphone apps and all this kind of stuff. Like they have modern, technically savvy people working at Warner Bros. They would not be able to survive if they didn't. And again, they're not innovating. they're catching up. These are big balls for them to drop. If they were first to the race, all of these things would make sense. I'm sorry, I'm not letting him off the hook for this.
No, I think you have valid points, and like you said, fair enough. They did not do execution very well with this, but I don't think it's going to harm them in the long run.
No. So let's zoom out. Yeah, no, they're going to totally survive this, big time.
Well, I think the name HBO holds lots of weight, and I think if they are able to adapt in a quick enough time period, then this will be erased from the history of their streaming service, and they'll.
And even if they don't adapt quickly, I still think they'll succeed, and it'll just be something people will mention for another couple of years and then forget about. This is not going to hurt them.
Well, honestly, the news of the Snyder Cut eclipsed any news of their platform not doing well, by the way. I think Snyder Cut overwhelmed any of this. So, I mean, as messaging goes, they distract.
They were well. So the Snyder Cut announcement also came out before the launch too. So.
Yeah, no, but it lasted a long time.
Yeah, and it's still being talked about. But the people still talking about it now are the geeks like us who.
Yeah, but I think those are the people who care more about.
My mom doesn't care about the Snyder. My mom doesn't know who Zack Snyder is, but she cares about whether she gets to stream whatever show she wants to stream.
Does she care about it being in 4K?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is does she care about the Middle Hobbit movie not being available?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Is
yes. Actually. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
She's one in
no. Oh my gosh.
Freaking trilogy is the worst trilogy ever.
So to answer your earlier question, Lizzie, apparently they are looking at a weekly release model, and except. And I don't know if this is to appease the masses or they're just so excited at the success of it, but they're so excited at the success of their one launch exclusive show, Love Life, that instead of releasing, they've got the first 3 episodes up now. Instead of releasing them weekly, they're releasing 3 episodes this Thursday and then the final 4 episodes the following Thursday. Because they're just so excited at the success of their only exclusive show. I mean, it's your only exclusive show. Of course, the numbers are going to look impressive. There's nothing to compare them to because it's your only exclusive. And I still think this is more damage control and trying to get people to spend more hours actively watching right up front to get people used to going to that app as opposed to Netflix and Hulu and stuff like that. The more they can keep that up on people's home screens, the better. It's smart. I'm not dissing them. This was a smart business move, but I think that this isn't, we're so excited it's successful. I think this is probably a little bit of, okay, things didn't quite work out the way we wanted them to. Let's use this instead. But for Lou, hey, more Anna Kendrick.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a big plus for me.
She is a delight.
She is.
Yeah.
No one can.
Well,
no one can
we'll have to see how this works out because I mean, I think you're right. This isn't gonna tank them.
No.
But I don't think they're ever gonna be competing head to head with Netflix or Hulu or.
I disagree with you there. I think that they are going to become. I think that it's going to be neck and neck between them and Netflix. I think they are going to rise to the top quickly. And
Disney Plus is going to
Disney Plus doesn't have they've got the backlog of Disney movies, but as far as updating new content on an ongoing basis, there's not a large influx, a large pipeline of new content being released on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Compared to what we're going to get from Warner Brothers.
The mainstream hype for things like The Mandalorian, etc., are going to far outpass anybody's hype over Westworld. I don't care. That is just a fact.
But
Baby Yoda is a cultural moment.
That's one show.
That, like, eclipsed anything anybody was prepared for.
That's one show.
And that came down
with
Disney
8
Plus.
episodes that are a half hour apiece that we're not going to get any more of for a long time. Warner, you're right about comparing one show there to one show on HBO Max, but HBO Max not only has a bigger back catalog available to them, but they come out with more shows more frequently. They are going to be neck and neck with Netflix.
A nostalgia factor and a direct pipeline to a heartstring that
only gets you so far once you've already seen those movies.
I don't think so.
I've personally talked to people who have said, I've watched everything that I want to see on Disney Plus. I'm quitting. And these are people who like have bedrooms just decorated with Disney figurines in front of their literally Disney wallpaper. Like, we're talking, they watch the Disney cartoons.
But is there any evidence that like Disney's suffering from people?
No. I'm not saying Disney's hurting. And I mean, come on, they're $5 a month. I'm not saying they're not worth it either. But I'm saying that I predict that Warner Brothers is going to rise to the top business-wise as a business juggernaut. Whether they're like a particular show is more desirable than another particular show. No, I think like especially right now, The Mandalorian, like you said, like that's headline news right there. That's a big deal and will continue to be. I just think that they are going to be a more of a juggernaut. They've got more money. They've got more content. And I think that when we're talking about the juggernauts that are going to be battling each other, it's going to be at one tier, we're going to have HBO Max and Netflix. And then below that, we're going to have Hulu, CBS All Access, Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus. And of those, I predict Disney Plus is definitely going to be the top. But they're not trying to be Warner Brothers. They're not trying to be HBO Max. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. I don't think they need to try to be.
CBS, so no.
What's that?
No.
Oh, no. CBS All Access is going to be like bottom of the barrel.
All Access, so.
Would it make you feel better? I put them on a third tier by themselves. I didn't want to give them the pleasure of being at the top of any tier. So.
Yeah, but who's at the top of the tier of the box office? I think that matters too.
At the box office. What? Okay. Yeah, well. Yeah, but we're not talking. We're not paying $15 a month for the box office, though. So.
No.
Yeah, you get those movies.
About properties that are directly tied to the box office, which coronavirus has completely derailed plans that were in the works. And I think we're in a timeline where things were maybe going to fall down a little differently than they have.
Yeah, I mean, the Friends reunion special was going to be part of the launch, and that didn't happen because of the coronavirus.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Falcon and Winter Soldier was already going to be out.
Yep.
In a couple
Black Widow's been pushed back. Yeah, no, everything is
not. And through a coronavirus. Right.
Yep.
So I think we have to look at it through a coronavirus filter. But I think when you're talking about a streaming service, listen, I love Disney. I'm aware of like all the factors. And I think that Warner Brothers is not going to come out at the bottom two or anything. I just think that like there's a lot coming down the pipe through Disney Plus that I think is going to mobilize a lot of mainstream people who don't care about the back and forth of streaming services and what's all available. And it's going to mobilize them the way that Mandalorian did, the way that it was a complete tentpole moment in cultural history, pop cultural history. And I think that is the thing that Disney has a pipeline into, the way that Warner Brothers doesn't have a pipeline into.
Well, wait a minute. For shows,
the way that Game of Thrones crashed and burned, by the way. For shows,
they do. For movie, if you're talking about movies, though, I think that the success of these, I think what's going to make them a juggernaut is going to be the shows, not the movies. I mean, look at Netflix. Yeah, people get Netflix for the movies, but their shows are doing really, really well. And if you look at the top 10, now that they're actually posting statistics for what's successful and what people are watching, for the streaming networks, I think that the shows bear a lot more weight than the movies. Even Disney Plus, nobody's talking about the fact that Frozen 2 is there. People are talking about the fact that The Mandalorian's there. I think right now, series are the big deals.
They have an aggressive they have an aggressive plan to have shows that are directly tied to their movies.
A handful.
I think that's the thing that will give them an edge that feels special.
It will feel special. I'm saying it's on a smaller scale. We have like what, 5? So 2 more Star Wars shows and 3 Marvel shows. That's 5 shows, which I'm excited about. I mean, I'm like drooling over, but it's still only 5 shows. And some of them are only like 2 or 3 episodes.
2 shows on HBO right now. 2 new ones.
There are more than 2 shows on new shows on HBO right now. I mean, I'd have to look up the roster because I don't watch all of them. 2
is what I'm talking about. You said 2
on HBO.
You said the Elmo one and the Ender Kendrick new.
Oh, exclusives.
Yeah, those are the new.
But I don't yet
for Max
exclusives.
New shows, on
right?
HBO.
When
but that's what I'm saying is exclusive to the streaming platform versus exclusive to the streaming.
But I think in the long run, those exclusives aren't going to be what causes them to dominate or not dominate the market. I think it's just going to be the overall size of the desirable content in their catalog. That's the thing. I think it's stupid for them to only have 2 shows at launch, but they've got such a back catalog, they don't need more than 2 shows. Apple TV, on the other hand, needed a bunch of exclusives to launch because they had no back catalog, and that's killed them. Apple TV is competing with CBS All Access for the Suckage Award right now. And the only thing it's saving them a little bit is you get a free demo if you buy an Apple product for like 12 months, and the shows they have are actually good quality, but there are so little content available there. So right now, HBO on a regular basis releases new episodes of new shows. Like, I guess Veep is off the air, but what's the one with, I'm blanking on the comedian's name now, where he's a hitman, but he plays an actor, like an improv actor, Barry or something.
Bill Hader.
Yeah, Bill Hader. So that one's still ongoing. Okay. Westworld, we could have used that as an example, but that season just ended. But like, there are active seasons of new shows that new episodes are continuing to come out. And when a season of one thing ends, another thing starts up again. There's more of that going on than there is on Disney Plus. And Disney Plus is one of my favorite services right now. But again, just the magnitude of HBO Max, I think, is going to put them competing at the very top, whereas Disney, just because and that's nothing wrong with that. Disney doesn't need to be like 800 billion hours of content. They just need their content to be good quality, and they're succeeding at that. Disney Plus is doing really, really well. And I couldn't be happier with how they're running things. But no, I don't think that they're going to be going neck to neck with Netflix. But I think HBO Max does have the ability to give Netflix a big run for its money.
I mean, I think Netflix is going to manage to like be Netflix throughout all of this, just because, I mean, they've been innovating from the beginning. Yeah. And this is just what I've said when any new streaming platform comes along, is that like, that's nice. But then, you're returning that. Even Disney, let me tell you, as much as I love Disney Plus, and right now I'm going to bat for Disney Plus, I haven't watched Disney Plus all quarantine. I've watched Netflix. So like, I'm team Netflix over here, because I just think that they innovated real early. They created their own films really early, and they understood how binge watching television was going to work on a streaming level.
Lizzie, are you saying I've watched more Disney Plus in the last week than you have in the entire quarantine?
For sure. For 100%. Wow. As much as I love it, like I'm not returning. I keep it as a streaming service that I'm gonna like have. Right. But like, whatever. Like, I'd rather watch. Listen, I'm in a Vampire Diaries vortex. It's a whole thing. You want to talk about it? It's another topic for conversation. It's a real problem, but and it's available on Netflix, so that's where I am
listen,
right now.
HBO Max innovates too. Do you realize how much bandwidth they are saving by not giving us 4K and HDR and 7.1 surround? That is innovation right there, people.
You are planting your flag, and you will die on this hill. Move on.
I'm agreeing with you, Lizzie.
Your hill is called 4K, and you
No, I'm saying that you're right.
Well,
I'm making
speaking
fun of HBO Max. I'm siding with Netflix, not because of Vampire Diaries, because I have certain things that prevent me from. They're called standards that prevent me from.
How dare you? How dare you?
Sorry.
Listen, you don't know where my heart is.
Speaking of
Poor Lou, he's trying to wrangle us away from this, and he doesn't even know where to step in.
Yeah.
Poor Lou.
I'm having a tough time. I've got ropes and everything here, but we are launching our own. Well, not really.
Our own streaming service.
We're going to be on YouTube.
Yes, Lizzie, and you're a part of it right now.
It's kind of a streaming service. It's called YouTube. We're going to be on that. Yeah.
Google is now suing us. Their lawyers are typing up emails as we speak.
They don't listen.
Random Chatter is launching us. What now? Yes,
exactly.
but we have a YouTube channel that.
Yay! We've had one.
Now we're actually using it. We're launching it. So we are going to have Random Chatter, Echo Base, Movie Chatter, and when we start getting movie trailers again, we're going to have Trailer Breakdown, all going to be posted. Yes. To the YouTube channel. And in fact, what we've traditionally done on Random Chatter, we are actually going to be breaking into 2 episodes to make it a little more easy to consume them on more easy. That's really bad English. To make it a little easier to consume on YouTube. So we're going to be breaking off our recommendations and what we've been watching, kind of our weekly recap into one episode. And then we're going to have the news this episode as a separate release. And you can find those by going to randomchatter.com/YouTube or youtube.com/randomchatter. Either one. In case you forget, they both work.
You can also keep up with us on social media. We are on Twitter and Instagram. We are Random Chatter on Twitter and on Instagram. I am on Twitter at Loose Skywalker, Skywalker without the E. I'm also on Instagram at Loose Seki or 6-Inch Hero. Lizzie, where can we find you on the social medias these days?
I am on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at the Lizzie T. That's TheLizziietea.
Nice. And Eric, where are you on social media?
Well, Twitter and Twitch, you can find me at Cinefan. That's CYNEFAN. And at twitch.tv/Cinefan is where you can find these streams at the moment. I didn't actually delete my TikTok account. They deleted my TikTok account. Apparently the dancing that I did in the videos there, something about their terms of service. No, it was just so bad that they felt like the service might be shut down. So they said, we're not airing this. You're done, dude. Just forget it. So you cannot find me on TikTok any longer. But if you're one of the few lucky people who did get to see it, Lou is taking applications for the therapy bills right now for compensation. So
I don't know if we're gonna be able to cover it all, but we'll try. Let's see, where were we? You can also find us on Discords. We are pretty active on our own Discord server we have for the network. We have channels for every show we have. We have channels that are accessible only to our Patreon donors. So you can find out more about that by going to randomchatter.com/Discord or randomchatter.com/Patreon. And finally, if you do get around to checking out the stuff on YouTube, we'd like you to like and subscribe to our channel. And subscribing on YouTube is free.
It is.
So we encourage you to do that. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I said important more than that. We've done this several times. Tim keeps bringing up the fact that Universal is working on bringing back their classic monster movies, and most recently we had The Invisible Man, which was good. Kind of interrupted by coronavirus, and I think it's available to see at home now, I believe.
Yeah, has been for a while.
I have not seen that, but everybody that's seen it raves about it to me, so I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I don't rave. The ending could have been improved.
Okay.
But it was good. It's worth seeing.
Okay. Well, if you like that, you might like the rest of the stuff. So now they're going full forward with their rest of their classic monsters. Next up, they're working on Wolfman.
Okay.
So, when I first heard they were doing these movies, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of an old time thing, and people aren't going to watch that, and it's not really modern. But they did a modern take for the Invisible Man stuff, so
and they did it well.
For Wolfman and the other stuff, Right. That's what everybody says. I've heard.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to these kind of things now. And so Ryan Gosling is kind of in the running to play the lead in Wolfman. He was actually originally, I think he worked on the pitch for this, and I think he was originally going to be directing as well, but they've kind of pulled away from that.
Okay.
So just starring in if they get him. But Wolfman, I think that'll be an interesting take on that. If they can modernize that story.
See, they need a second success in order to hook me. The Invisible Man, to me, there's a certain inherent psychological aspect to things that I find that interesting. Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, Count Chocula, Booberry, like all of those.
No.
None of those.
Those are not part of the Universal.
Actually, I like Count Chocula, and none of those really like have any appeal to me. Like I get it, and I get the themes involved, and kind of not the mythology, but like man versus nature and man versus self, and blah blah blah. I get it, but like they're 100 years old. Like I just I've heard it before.
Yeah, but if they bring them fresh,
that's the thing.
With a fresh take on it, I think I'll be
the Invisible Man thing was modernized well, and they succeeded at it. I don't see how they could do this and modernize it, and I hope to be proved wrong. And if I can be proven wrong, then I will start to look forward to all the others. But I'm not convinced that the Invisible Man wasn't a fluke yet.
Okay, no, and that's fair. I mean, that's perfectly fair, because I had the same issue in my mind with a lot of these movies of, how do you make Frankenstein a modern story?
Right.
How do you make Wolfman a modern story? How do you make Dracula a modern
maybe
story?
Even Frankenstein, maybe, and you could put like a cloning spin on it, right?
Right. If they use modern technology and make these things modern, I think
right. But like the Dracula Wolfman thing and the Mummy, like, I don't know. We'll see. Listen.
But just
I hope for the best.
Something is 100 years old doesn't mean it couldn't have.
You're right.
History repeats itself.
You're right. And they've proven that with the Invisible Man. It was a success
They did.
on every level. You're right.
I mean, I think that like pop culture proves it over and over again. And I think like the classic hero journey is the classic hero journey for a reason. And just being, older doesn't mean it can't be given new life. And I think that way about Dracula or Frankenstein or any of those classic, the actual bones of like where that monster comes from and why that monster survives and thrives in our culture or doesn't is always something that's very interesting to explore. It's
there have been a lot of
that is either crappy,
failures
or not. Agreed, but that doesn't mean that the theme itself couldn't survive an actual like dynamic director and a studio that gave it a chance and like a cast that really made it come alive couldn't do that, of course, time and again and again. I just think that like when you're talking about things like this, I think there's a high standard. I think there's nostalgia because of the longevity of characters like that and themes like that. And I think you have to really approach it from a world that maybe that was never meant to be a part of. Like, who envisioned this world? Like, Mary Shelley never envisioned this world. So when writing Frankenstein, this was not a world that could have been envisioned for that character. So for a writer to come along to say, what if, and fit it into our world, our context, social media. I mean, these things and these themes that just don't make sense. Like a Jane Austen now is like, what? Because we have cell phones. But like, if done right, you get a clue.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And that's a classic, fun movie.
I agree. However, the problem I have with these specific things, and we like Clueless, a great example, and there are various other. Dangerous Liaisons and like there have been lots of like retelling of classic tales, and it works, and those same themes modernized. When it comes to the quote classic monsters, it's been done frequently and poorly to the point where it has set such a pattern and a precedent that it's hard for me to eagerly anticipate new ones. Now, I'm hoping that the mold is broken. The Invisible Man was really good. Now, these others, they're being done by Blumhouse as well, right?
I do not
Okay,
know.
I hope so, because Blumhouse, I'm really impressed with them as a studio. They have surprised me over and over again. Not all of their movies have been winners, but really, they've pulled off some things they should not have been able to pull off and made interesting films out of them. It's just, I'm hopeful and I wish them the best, and I will be right there on board if they can prove to me that this is a pattern and not just a one-time accidental success amongst like a myriad of crap like the Jack Nicholson Wolf movie. And I mean, just like on and on and on and on. There have been so many remakes that have not worked well. And that's even aside from talking like the remakes and reboots issue in general. But like these, like you said, they are classic for a reason. I hope that they can breathe new life into them. They've had such a bad track record. You need to go a little bit more to prove it to us, I think. Just a little bit.
Well, you're right. It's going to depend on the writing team and everybody else. But I think that, with the success they have with the Invisible Man,
they've proven it can be done.
Forward to this and see what they come out with.
Yeah, you're right, Liz. They've proven it can be done. Let's stay on that track.
I mean, I loved The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. I thought it was fun. I thought it was like the right time for it. I thought it was like the perfect movie. And then, fast forward to Tom
Cruise.
Cruise's The Mummy, I was like, no, we'll never watch. So 100% think that like studios get caught up in what they think will serve the bottom dollar, obviously playing on nostalgia, playing on history, playing on the title, like whatever. I think it gets caught up a lot in like the studio really being like, well, let's push King Kong again. Okay, but like, does the script make sense? Does the time period make sense? How
all that stuff's got to play into it.
Do you have the right director? I think there's a lot of questions. Right. I get your point, and I 100% am behind the point where that like it has to be done correctly. Right. But I 100% think it can be because when it comes along and oh my gosh, I didn't even envision that breathing life into my world. And like I'm so obsessed with it. The way that hello, okay, this is the Eye of Ra, and it was because I was so obsessed with Brendan Fraser's The Mummy that I was like, I need to and day to the pyramids, and like that sparked in me something so really pure. Like so genuine that I was just obsessed with Egypt because of the Brendan Fraser mummy movies. Like, so just to say that, like, something can come along that is like pure. You know what I mean? That's what I want to say. That something can come along that's fresh and new and
listen, I hope that's what we get. I agree with all the points you're making. I'm just observing that we have not had a track record of what you're describing, and a track record of what we just saw successfully proving your point with The Invisible Man. I just hope that they will continue to succeed at that.
I mean, I don't really give a crap about Wolfman at all.
I don't
like
either.
Even a little bit, but like I think werewolves have had, or wolfmen have had plenty of success pop culturally. And having been in the Vampire Diaries world, they have a huge presence.
That's another thing, though. Like, I'm still reeling from the oversaturation of the whole vampire and werewolf craze of the last decade. We've had Twilight, we've had True Blood, we've had, I don't even know anything about the Vampire Diaries.
Give me it all.
It's just like,
give me all.
Like the zombie thing, too. Like, to be fair, I actually like The Walking Dead. But the zombie thing's been like done to death, no pun intended now too. Like we need to give it a little bit of a break. So it's hard for me. It would be hard for me to get excited about a new zombie property. And yet it could be done if it's a good quality thing. Likewise, it's hard for me to get excited about vampires or werewolves right now. And those are two of the most prominent classic monsters in this franchise.
Always excited by vampires and werewolves.
And
always.
I'm just
and zombies. I think they're always interesting to me. And I think they can be 100% beaten with a dead horse. I don't think that that's not possible.
I don't know. The ones I knew in high school, used to beat with sticks. I've never found a.
How do you swing the horse? That's got to be hard.
Well, with vampires,
you've got to have good core muscles.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
People think it's all in the arms, but you've got to actually get it airborne first.
I think the right thing comes along and you change your mind.
Sure.
I hope so.
Well, speaking of the right thing coming along and changing your mind.
We talked a lot longer about that one than I expected.
Me too. Yeah. Are you guys watching Cobra Kai?
Not.
It's on YouTube. So this is the sequel series from Karate Kid, right?
And listen, people rave about it.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good. I've never watched an episode. But this is moving from YouTube, from their pay service, or YouTube Red, is that what they call it? Okay, to something else. And I guess right now, Netflix and Hulu are both fighting over this.
Allegedly, yeah. Like it's... They being whoever it is that makes Cobra Kai are finalizing a deal right now, and they have not announced what platform it's going to. So it sounds like there's a bidding war going on, and it sounds like the only two left are Hulu and Netflix.
Okay.
So we'll see. But this will be a third season. So the fact that they're doing a third season off of what was going to have been a generation later sequel to a series of 1980s movies that is on, I mean, YouTube is just not, their pay service is, I mean, you want to talk about something that makes CBS All Access look good. You know, the only reason people pay for YouTube for their paid streaming is for the music. They don't, I haven't spoken to anybody yet who's done it for video content other than a handful of people who were obsessed with this show. So it's got to be a good show for it to still be a going concern.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're not going to keep this thing going if it's not making any money.
And you're not going to have a bidding war over it for its third season.
Now, do we know why it's leaving? Is it them wanting to leave YouTube, or YouTube?
I think
going
YouTube is just kind of, my understanding anyway, is they're kind of just shuttering the whole video aspect of like, as far as their video exclusives for scripted content, they're getting away from that. They're going to focus on, they're really seeming to focus a lot on the movies. And then, of course, the user created content. So, yeah, just a different direction.
I have a confession.
Uh-oh.
I've never seen The Karate Kid.
Oh, my God.
Lizzie.
Really?
Lizzie.
I saw the new one.
Granted, it was a bit before your time.
No.
I have seen that one.
Listen.
Wait, which one?
I accept your blind hatred of all things DC and your blind worshiping at the altar of Marvel, but Karate Kid.
It's a gross generalization of my character.
It's a classic, Lizzie.
I don't disagree with you. I've just never seen it. I'm not saying I hate it. I just haven't seen it.
So when you do see it, you have to come back to us and tell us what you think.
Late. It's too late.
It's really not.
You should have her as a guest on Movie
It ages fairly well.
I haven't seen it in years.
I've seen it like a couple years ago, and it I mean, it's very 80s, but the storytelling and the empathy that you have for the characters, I would say it holds up.
I know all the things that happen. I know wipe on, wipe off. I know the things. I just
no. It's not about the memey things. It's about watching the story unfold and connecting with these characters.
I like stories. It's not from choice. It's just one of those movies that like, okay, here's the thing. As a child, if my parents didn't show me the movie, I didn't see it. It's like, that's just how it was when I was a kid, is like my parents showed me movies. Yeah. I'm a Star Wars fan because my parents showed me Star Wars, and I was like, yes, this.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, and same with Indiana Jones. So they like never showed me Karate Kid. Like when I grew up, I was like, all right, I get it. but I never watched it. Not because I didn't want to. I just,
That's fair. We're not judging you.
That time period.
I mean, I'm totally judging her on other things. We're not judging you on this.
You are. You are.
Oh, and when you watch it,
it's fine.
Listen, you got to let the soundtrack go. Because...
No. It's the 80s. I'm going to like the soundtrack.
Oh, my gosh. Wouldn't that be horrible if she loved the soundtrack but hated the movie? Do you remember the soundtrack, Lou?
I'm trying to think back to it. I don't remember.
Movie. I'm not saying I'll hate the movie. I'm just saying I've never seen it. It's like, oh, that's a movie that's like great. I don't know. I just haven't seen it.
Isn't that the one that had the song with the fight montage at the end? You're the best around. Nothing's ever going to keep you down.
I will love the soundtrack. I love the 80s. I will love the soundtrack. I will probably love the movie. I just wanted to let you know that before we continue that I
That's okay, Lizzie. We still love you.
Do you? It's fine. I'm feeling not a little love.
You know what? If you find a place that's streaming it, let me know. I wouldn't mind rewatching it. It's a good movie.
Oh.
It's got a lot of heart for that type of movie, and a lot of 80s movies didn't really, and this did.
I only watched the Jaden Smith one because I was a nanny at the time, and the kids that I nannied were like 8, and they were so interested in Jaden Smith. He's an interesting character in like life because Will Smith, his son, and I love Jackie Chan, like beyond belief. I love Jackie Chan. So I was like, let me know more about this movie. Right. So like we watched that one, not because I was like that movie over the original.
Yeah. No, we get it. And that movie, I mean, it wasn't bad. It was.
I will watch any Jackie Chan movie that comes.
What is your favorite Jackie Chan movie?
I love him the way I love Rob. Jackie Chan to me are on like a weird level in my brain and in my heart.
You stuttered out a little bit. Jackie Chan and who?
Robin
Williams. Ooh. Okay. I'd have to go Robin Williams over a lot of people. But yeah, I like Jackie Chan. And what I like about Jackie Chan is I like him as a person. Like if you know much of... Yeah. But so what is your favorite Jackie Chan movie?
Oh my gosh. I really love Rush Hour like so much. But I've also...
What is your favorite non-American Jackie Chan movie?
I have watched some of them, but I don't know the names of all the ones I watched because I was on like a Jackie Chan kick for a while, and I watched so many that I could not tell you the names of all the ones that I watched.
Okay.
But because I watched Rush Hour and whatever the High Noon, Shanghai Noon, which with Owen Wilson,
which was much better than Shanghai Nights.
He had that whole Shanghai Noon and Rush Hour were like a very specific time period in my life when I didn't know about Jackie Chan up until that time period. And then he was like in everything. And I think like I just have like this, I don't know, I just have this like place in my heart for Jackie Chan. So because he was in that new reboot Karate Kid, I watched it. So not to say it's better than the original. This was a longer one than you meant to too, but I'm sorry, I had to take a tangent.
This is fun. How many more hours do you have?
That's okay.
We have a whole nother show we have to do after this.
So let's see. Now we have a couple more stories real quickly. We have
5% on my computer.
I didn't hear anything she just said.
It's okay. It's probably for the best at this point. We should move on. So much for making the show shorter by cutting it in half.
Sonic the Hedgehog sequel.
Yes. Yay! Moving on.
Yeah, exactly.
My son's going to be thrilled.
Will he?
Oh,
okay.
He loved the first one. And you know, the more I think about it, it really wasn't that bad a movie. It was okay.
Okay.
You were like...
I'm not going to see it, but good to know.
I know. I know.
Very good things
I did not. I was very careful because my son could be listening. I was very careful in my. It was everything I could have ever dreamed it could be, which is to say, like not much.
You accidentally said a lot of good things about it.
It is not. Looking back on it in hindsight, after watching it a second time with my son, I should have given it a little bit more credit. It's still, listen, everything I said about it is still accurate, but I could have been a little easier on it.
Okay. We have another victim of the coronavirus. BlizzardCon is now officially canceled. More to come, I suppose.
So
we haven't any news about Celebration.
Demos about Diablo 4
in August.
Oh, and they're remastering Diablo 2.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one more thing to go. And then there's a story here that I did not get a chance to read yet on Georgia TV's film.
Yeah, I didn't get to read it either, and that was a Tim thing, so I say we skip
I
it.
assume this is probably about how they're getting back to producing
Probably how they're handling
TV
distancing and stuff.
Movies in midst of coronavirus. So,
well, they can come up and film here in West Virginia because, people here are just like rolling around in the mud with strangers. Like it's not a thing. Corona,
yeah,
what
nice.
now? Yeah, no, it's just like we're apparently immune from it. But that's a whole different other story that.
it is.
Okay.
Okay, well, that does bring us to the end of an episode.
All right. Well, if you are listening to this through one of our audio podcasts at randomchatter.com, I would recommend you go to randomchatter.com/YouTube and start watching the videos for these and hitting that subscribe button and the little notification thingy so that you can get notified when new videos are posted. And if you want to hang out with us live in the chat, we normally record Sunday night starting at about 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And you can get that at twitch.tv/Cinefan. That's CYNEFAN. And like Lou said earlier, you can come join us in Discord. You can get all the information on that over at randomchatter.com. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for listening and watching, and we will see you again in a week. Take care.